Okay, we're going to talk about advanced lane play, lining up with a purpose. And lane play is probably one of the most interesting parts of the game, the modern game right now. A lot of myths and misconceptions about lane play, a lot of concerns about the multiple patterns that are out there now, and they're growing all the time. So let's start with the ABCs. First of all, though, first is the approach. You need to know your lineup properly in the approach. Need to have an idea for where the break point is at. We use that pattern length minus 31 formula to get to the exit point, which is going to be near the break point. The exit point, of course, is going to be earlier down the lane. The break point will be after the exit point in every case. Want to connect all these things together: the approach, line up, the angle of the approach, the exit point, the break point, and the focal point. The focal point being the pins on the deck, as we've talked about previously in our 3-point targeting routine. If you don't see it, you're not looking. So you gotta be looking, you gotta be really getting a picture, trying to sight down the angle of the swing to really see where the ball is going to travel, how it's going to get from point A to point B, from the foul line to the pocket. If you can do that, it's really going to make your lane play and your overall game a lot better. So paint a visual picture in your mind if you can, or even paint a line on the lane if you can, and get that visual, get that actual big picture of where the ball is going to be traveling. Get the shape of the shot in your mind. That shape issue is crucial for most players. Okay, the lane's 39 boards wide, plus or minus a board in some cases, but basically 39 boards wide, we'll say. And how many boards do you get to use? Well, obviously you don't play on all 39 boards. In fact, if you're a right-hander, you're going to play probably on as few as 9 boards. On short patterns, you'll be on boards 5, 6, or 7. On medium patterns, you'll be using destination boards of 8, 9, or 10. And on long patterns, you'll be using destination boards of 11, 12, and 13. So those 9 boards are going to be key for making the shot, for lining up, for getting the picture, for seeing the shape and the ball path. Here's another visual to show you that on long patterns you're going to be shooting for this yellow box about 3 boards wide down here. For medium patterns you'll be shooting for a box about 3 boards wide like this green one. And then for shorter patterns you'll be farther out to the edge like this 3 board wide red box. And the message here is on shorter patterns you'll be playing normally further out to the edge of the lane because there's more room for the ball to hook, more distance with dry boards. On medium patterns you'll be closer, and on long patterns you'll be the closest to the pocket. So that's something, a general idea to get in your mind as you plan how to play these different lane patterns. Again, we talked about the break point board range. For the top players in the world, they're at 3.1 boards at 39 feet. That's how much variance they have in their shot after shot routine, is just 3 boards. And we're giving you, and we just on the previous slide, 3 board target areas to shoot for. So that's consistent with what the top pros in the world are doing, is that 3 board range at 39 feet. We've talked about before the 3-point targeting and quiet eyes, so we'll take a pause for a second while I switch over to some other slides. Okay, this is a short pattern lane graph which shows the lane from the back or the foul line area to the front. This is the area where the pins would be. This is the area into the pattern right here, the exit point area. These are the dry boards between the exit point and the pins. So we're looking from the back of the lane up in this area to the front, pardon me, the front of the lane looking down from the foul line to the back of the lane here where the pins are. And you see on a fresh short pattern there's a tremendous amount of oil across in the area just past the foul line, and the oil tapers as it goes further down the lane, to the exit point where the oil stops completely, and you have dry boards all the way after that. This is a description of a fresh pattern, how it looks graphically. Okay, after 15 minutes of practice on this same pattern, you see the difference in how much oil is depleted. This is the fresh, and this is how it changes after 15 minutes of practice. You can start to see a little bit of a trough developing in this area here. You can see that there's oil depleted off the top here in this area on the right. This is for right-handers. It may be a little bit over here for left-handers on this side. Okay, after one game, this is what it looks like. Again, you see more oil depleted here, more of a trough developing in this area. After 2 games, it looks like this. After 3 games, it's tremendously changed. About 60% of the oil now is depleted, and you see a definite cavern or trough in this area. And again, you want to be shooting at here to the dry based on the pattern length, the formula pattern length minus 31. You always want to be trying to get your ball to that spot at the end of the oil at the exit point. But now you've got a lot of burned up lane in this area here. So you don't want to keep bowling down this lane because your ball is going to start reacting too early, losing its energy by the time it gets the pins and looking tired by the time it's at the pins. This is a demonstration of the carry down on a short pattern, and you can see there is some carry down. Carry down is not totally a myth, but the amounts of carry down are so small they're not enough to affect the ball reaction on these aggressive bowling balls today. So carry down as a cause for loss of ball motion is really a myth. It is there, but it's in such small amounts it will not change ball motion. This is the short pattern from the front, looking at it from the pin side of the lane, or the pin end of the lane toward the foul line. Again, this is a fresh. Here's after 15 minutes practice. Here's after game 1, game 2, game 3. Again, you can see dramatically how the oil changes. And in this particular pattern, you want to be playing out to the exit point location, but you'd want to move as the pattern deteriorates into the oil area here. So you're throwing through the oil out to the dry exit point location here. So that's how you want to adjust to play this pattern. Medium pattern, a little bit different in its appearance in the short, but this is a fresh medium pattern. Again, looking at it from the area of the foul line here to the exit point here to the pins after the dry area, which would be down here. This pattern changes again just like the other. After 15 minutes of practice, it looks like this. After one game, you see the trough developing in this area. It's after practice, after one game, and after 2 games, it's even worse. And after 3 games, it's a tremendous difference here. Again, you'd want to play inside out to this dry area. It might be possible to get a little oil here and play this line right here, but overall it's better to move in and throw the ball out to the dry on these patterns as they change. Again, the carry down graph shows very minimal carry down, not enough to change ball motion. Front view of a medium pattern again as it deteriorates. Game 1, game 2, game 3. Again, in game 3 you can see a significant deterioration in oil depletion through here. If you continue throwing the ball in this area, the ball is going to burn up much too quickly. It'll run out of energy. It'll look like it's not hooking. You'll think it may be because of oil down lane, but it's actually because of lack of oil in this area here, causing the ball to use up its energy early on in the lane before it reaches the pins. Here's a long pattern. They don't change quite as much as the other patterns, but let's take a look. There's after practice, after game 1, game 2, game 3. Again, you see that trough development right in here, and the oil depletion here. You'd want to move to this area and throw out to the exit point area. Carry down again is negligible. That's something that most people don't understand, so I want to remind you again that carry down really is a myth in how it affects ball motion. It does occur, but it occurs in such small amounts that ball motion is not affected. Okay, the long pattern from the front, fresh, after practice, after 1 game, after 2 games, and after 3 games. Definite patterns of change, of oil depletion. Again, the oil depletion after 3 games is about 60% from what it was in the initial start when it was fresh. These are just other graphs of how you can look at the oil depletion on the lane at different lengths. This is 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet. That's where the arrows are at. 22, 25, and of course because there's less oil at these longer distances, you see less amplitude here in the graphs. 30 feet, 38 feet, 44 feet. Okay, so we've discussed now the issue of advanced lane play. It's a matter of making moves quickly, getting into the idea that when you think of a move, or you think you should make a move, you should do so. If the thought occurs to you to make a ball change, it's probably wise to do so. The person who finds it first is the person who wins, and most of us don't move enough, or we don't move big enough at the time we make a move to make a big difference. So in today's game, you need to move quickly. You usually need to move in large amounts. You can move in a parallel manner where you don't change the actual angle of the ball. Say you move 2 boards with your feet and 2 boards with your eyes. Or you can move in an angular manner where you move 2 or 3 boards with your feet and only 1 board with your eyes, which does change the angle of the line you're going to play. And but making those adjustments quickly, making them early on, taking risks. It's better to find out that you've got the line adjusted in the 3rd frame, even if it turns out that you make a mistake the first time you try it and waste the 3rd frame. You have the rest of the game to experiment and to find the right place to play. If you wait till the last ball in the 10th, the whole game is gone. So move early, make bold changes, trust your intuition and your judgment. Have an arsenal that you understand the different ball motions of each ball that you have. Change ball surfaces as well. That'll make one bowling ball maybe 5 bowling balls, and the different reactions you'll achieve by changing surface texture. And don't ever assume that a lane is going to play the way the textbook says it will. Every lane surface is different. Every bowling center is different. Every pattern, even though it may be put down the same, it's going to react differently on different lane topography and lane surfaces. So that's pretty much my take on advanced lane play. I hope it helps you, and if you have any questions, contact me at the Kegel Training Center.